Hello, thank you all for taking time out of your day to view this presentation. This is the implicated brain structures in the experiences of poverty and suicide. We're going to be looking at the neuropsychology of suicide and the neuropsychology of poverty. I'm your presenter. My name is Cullen. I'm a first-year doctoral student at Wright State School of Professional Psychology. Thank you to Dr. Julie Williams for being the faculty on this presentation as well, and for all of her help with the research and getting the poster together. This is a non-empirical poster looking at literature found through Google Scholar and the Wright State Library database. So here's a little look at what we'll be talking about today. First, we're going to have an introduction to the topic, the main findings from the literature, some discussion of future takeaways. Then you all are going to have the opportunity to scan the QR code at the end and you can see the full presentation. So starting off with our introduction, first, as you can see, the suicide and poverty rates in the US have remained rather high. And in the case of the suicide rate, it's been growing and it peaked recently in 2022, and also a lot of the data is still coming in year by year. Uh, for example, I'm not even sure the 2024 data has been updated yet on the CDC website. Now, furthermore, some common features of poverty, such as unemployment or access to income, have been associated with suicidal behaviors, ideation, and death. So I wanted to look at and see what the literature said about the intersection of the neuropsychology of suicide and the neuropsychology of poverty. Now, starting off in general, it is worth saying there was no one article looking at each of these three together, that being neuropsychology, suicide, and poverty. But there are still some connections we can make, setting the stage, executive function, and associative brain structures that executive function operates from, such as the frontal lobe. They're important for things such as decision making, judgment, or reasoning as well. Neuropsychological testing has indicated some deficits in executive function of those who have attempted suicide previously. In a longitudinal study, deficits in the frontal lobe were associated with experiences of poverty growing up. Furthermore, there were disruptions in decision-making processes that were associated with lower childhood family income. So, similar brain areas, the frontal lobe has been implicated in suicide and in poverty separately. There hasn't really been any research looking directly at that relationship. It would admittedly be a little difficult to do. And a further limitation is figuring out the direction of that relationship and the various confounding variables that surround it. For example, ACEs are associated with suicidal behavior later in life, and ACEs being adverse childhood experiences. However, experiences of poverty increase the likelihood that one has experienced an ACE. So what would actually be mediating that relationship? I think the biggest piece of information, though, is just that there is more information needed. A better understanding of the relationship between the neuropsychology of suicide and the neuropsychology of poverty may help guide intervention and prevention strategies. I know that there's been a lot of information very quickly, so I just wanted to kind of take the chance to present the two biggest takeaways. Similar brain areas that show deficits after experiences of poverty have been shown to have deficits in those who have engaged in suicidal thoughts and behaviors. There are similar brain areas that are implicated. And then we need more research on this topic. Whatever that research might look like, we just need more to have a better understanding. So here's the QR code. Thank you for listening and watching. I also attached my email. If there are any questions that anyone has, feel free to reach out. Otherwise, I hope that you have a great rest of your day. Bye.